All right, thank you, Rick Springfield. Thank you to Patrick for that warm introduction. I guess I won't say anything mean about him now, but after my presentation at the bar, I'll have plenty of stuff to say about him. Thank you to Isaac for putting this together. I joined Adventure Media Group, like Patrick mentioned, just over 5 years ago. It has been a wild ride, and I'm very excited to be here today. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker than Isaac and Patrick did. What I want to talk to you all today about is the title of my presentation is Building a Winning PPC Playbook. My agenda here quickly is going to be a few sections. Private equity approach, talking a little bit about how our agency has evolved and the way that we structure our teams and the way that we service our clients, similar to that of a private equity firm or umbrella corporation or any multi-brand company would be. I have a case study that I want to go through that I think will be a good lens for us to go over some of the stuff that I think separates us from other agencies and stuff that hopefully you guys find interesting. We'll talk a little bit about our team structure, the playbook, and finally, Aristotle was talking about DOLAH. We'll get to that. So, private equity approach. I have a quote here that I found in an op-ed in the New York Times just a couple months ago in August about private equity that says they frequently slash jobs and benefits for employees, cut services and hike prices for consumers, and sometimes even endanger lives and undermine the social fabric. It seems a little dramatic to me. I promise I'm not here to debate the virtues and iniquities of private equity. Say that 10 times fast. But what I do want to talk about is some ways that there's an overlapping core principles between the way that private equity firms are organized and structured to the way that the good ones are to the way that good PPC campaigns are managed. So, one thing over the last 5 years that I've been here, I've worked with a number of private equity-backed businesses. We work with, venture capital-backed, privately owned private equity businesses, a lot of different types. In the private equity space, anything from a very large B2B enterprise software company to a network of tire service stores and oil change locations to an umbrella company of 40-plus HVAC home service brands across the country. And I think that there are a number of principles of these private equity companies that are run well that are applicable to PPC management. The first one is a consolidated team structure. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, the way that we have mirrored some of the way that we set up our teams internally from an agency standpoint to maximize efficiency. Cutting out redundancies, cutting out waste is a big part of what we do for all of our campaigns, and we do that when we partner with private equity firms. The third main tenet is scalability. Something that we're always looking to do as marketers is scale and grow for our clients. What's great about working with private equity is they have the exact same goal. You never have to try to convince them to spend more money or increase budgets so long as the return is there. And that's always refreshing because that's not always the case. So there's definitely an alignment there in terms of scalability. The fourth one here is oriented towards profit. I don't believe it's the hero section on our website anymore, but for a few years, the hero section on Adventure Media, AdventurePPC.com was neurotically focused on client profit. And that's still true. That is a core tenet of everything that we do. Really being able to prove our worth through the numbers backed by data is something that definitely appeals to people in private equity space, and being able to prove that out definitely aligns. And the last one is all for one and one for all. Not all private equity companies have that approach, potentially. Some of them, I won't name any, but they don't necessarily have that same approach, but the good ones do. Can anyone tell me whose motto that is, the all for one, one for all? Who knows what that is? Three Musketeers. That's right, the Three Musketeers. There you go. I was told once that throwing things at an audience helps them pay more attention to you. So stay on your toes out there. There might be more projectiles, I'm not sure. But thank you, yeah. So all for one, one for all. The idea there is that one brand under an umbrella can help benefit the rest of the brands, and you can build up institutional knowledge, and that will benefit the whole. And we'll talk more about that as well. So I think one way that I think the best way to go into this, looking at how we structure ourselves and the commonalities between private equity, is through a case study on Turnpoint Services. Turnpoint Services is a brand that we've been working with for about 6 months now. They're a group of 40 plus home service brands, HVAC, plumbing, electric, and they have a footprint across the entire United States, and they have very aggressive growth goals. They're 40 plus brands right now. By the end of next year, they plan to be 100 plus brands. And the way that they approach everything is center-led, center-focused. So they partner with best-in-class services, and their whole goal is to be combining local brand equity with cutting-edge technology. And partnering with Adventure Media Group has allowed them to really systematize a lot of what they're doing across all of their brands, and has led to some impressive growth early on. Like I said, we've been working for about 6 months. We currently manage 21 of their brands, and we've seen early success because of the way that we've been able to structure ourselves. And it's been a learning process for us, and really has been something that over the last year our agency has been doing a lot more of in terms of the way we structure teams, being flexible and agile, creating processes for onboarding that allow us to move very quickly and nimbly, because when you're dealing with 20 brands onboarding at once, it's trying to take on 20 clients for an agency of our size could be a daunting task. But when you can package it the right way and you can systematize things, it becomes a lot easier. A commitment to not making the same mistake twice is something that I think is good for all, in all walks of life. Certainly managing singular brands, that's really helpful, but it's the impact of that is felt tenfold when you make a mistake for one brand and then you don't make that mistake for the other 19 brands within that client. For most of the time, you make a mistake for a brand, and you learn from it, you don't make it again, you still made that mistake for the brand. By packaging everything together under this umbrella, it allows us to learn from mistakes from one and not make those across other brands. Another reason for our success has been communication. Part of what we've built up is our internal structure to mimic what the private equity team's structure is, and allows us to have clear delegation of tasks, clear communication across from top to bottom. And then the systematization of our processes. This is something that is an ongoing thing. We're learning how to do it, we're getting better at it, and by our agency learning and doing it better, we'll be better servicing our clients, but it also allows us to be able to onboard more, and that's why our planning to take on the remainder of the Turnpoint brands early next year and continue to grow with them till they're 100 plus brands and more. One of the key components to this is team structure that I keep bringing up. And I think that looking at the way that private equity kind of structures their whole system is intuitive. You have your private equity fund there, and then your portfolio companies underneath it. And it almost kind of looks like if you're structuring an account with campaigns underneath your account and kind of just taking a 10,000 foot view of the way that you would manage a PPC account. And so we've structured our team internally to allow us to, instead of treating an individual portfolio company as a new client that's come on board, but to treat the firm, the umbrella company, as the client, and then manage the individual brands almost as if they're separate campaigns. So this is a very tangled web of an example of how we can build out our team. And one thing I want to call to attention here is the optimization specialist along the bottom. Adventure Media Group is in a very unique position to be able to scale very quickly for clients like this because of our network of international talent that we've cultivated through Isaac's courses and trainings and Patrick's trainings online. We have a talent network of thousands of people around the world at all different levels that have been trained by Adventure Media people that know the Adventure Media way, and they're part of our team, and they can be pulled in very quickly as needed to scale up. So the structure that we have in place for Turnpoint specifically, but for any of these other brands, Sun Auto and a couple of other private equity firms that we work with, is almost like a pod structure. Looking at it here, we have our internal account team leads, which would be an account manager, but instead of them having the capacity to manage a handful of brands, they're able to manage 8 to 10 brands underneath this umbrella because they're not doing the day-to-day optimizations. We have our talented team of our network of optimization specialists that are able to do that. And the communication hierarchy runs through our account team leads, through the brand managers on the private equity side, and trickles up to myself myself and Avery Nyman, who's our Director of Client Services, who I think you'll hear from later, he will make sure all the trains run on time and allocate the resources properly. But this structure is something that was built out over the last 2 years that allows us to take on larger clients and scale quickly with those clients. This whole team structure is the beginning that allows us to bring clients like this on, and then the reason that we're able to grow with them is the playbook. If anyone's worked with private equity or has been involved at all with these types of companies, they love the word playbook. They want everything to be a playbook, systematized. How can we package something nice and neat that we know works so that we can duplicate it? And the reason that that's so successful for us is if you think about having one brand, maybe they're an e-commerce brand, they sell a product, you hit their ROAS goals, you're generating sales, and now the goal is to scale up. Anyone who's tried to scale up a digital advertising campaign on Facebook or Google or any of these places, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where it gets very difficult. The good thing about working with private equity, a company like TurnPoint, is we're hitting our targets. This is a profitable brand. Perfect. I'm going to go buy another one just like it, and we'll do it again. And that allows us to have built-in growth with clients like this. So from an ad agency standpoint, it's a really good relationship. The playbook is really a living, breathing document that it's regularly updated with strategies and tactics that is going to help us improve efficiencies, promote scalability, and maximize profit. Pictured here is a picture of an actual physical playbook that we've created for the TurnPoint team and put it into a 3-ring binder and have sheets that go along with it. And the reason it's a binder is because there will be more pages added to it. And as we add pages to that playbook, it makes us better as an agency, and it allows us to better service this particular client. Some of the plays that exist in the playbook are the account team build that we talked about. We put together a 24-hour checklist. Every time we onboarded a new brand, we learned something from it and then added that to our list of, okay, this is something we need to make sure we do. A new brand intake, technical audit, keyword labeling decision tree, strategy audit. All of this stuff is plays that have organically grown up over the last 6 to 8 months that we've learned from managing this specific client, and then we'll be able to pay that forward. And then the last thing I want to talk about here, because I do want to be cognizant of time and not go as long as those last two, is, and it works out because I don't have any more content, so it's perfect. Aristotle said the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, or something like that. There's consternation. No one knows if it was Aristotle who said it. It was a long time ago. But I think we've all heard the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And really, that's the concept of synergy, right? So by combining similar brands underneath that one umbrella, you create synergy. That's what a good, well-designed structure can do for you. And each brand benefits from the shared resources and institutional knowledge of the whole. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I think that's a cool analogy, or almost a like a microcosm of what DOLAH is here. It's true of good advertising agency. By what we've done over the last, since I've been here for 5 years, the last 8 years that Isaac and Patrick have been doing this, is putting together institutional knowledge. DOLAH started out a couple of years ago as an internal training. It was for more senior members to go through just cool stuff that they had been doing over the last few months and talk about it with the greater team to make them better. And the idea that it has grown into this is proof positive that it's working, and that it's something that we're all here as a whole right now is better than the sum of each of our individual parts. And I think that's really what DOLAH is all about. So thank you guys very much for the time.